Hey guys, it's Rin here, and today is a little change of pace where we're taking a quick dive into the magical world of itch.io. For those of you who don't know, itch.io is a website which game developers can post their games, assets, tools, and even comic books. At no cost to the developer up front, with money mainly made through a portion of sales on titles. This has created a bit of a wild world where experimentation runs wild, and is ever encouraged. Today I'm going to take a quick look at just a couple different games that piqued my interest while going through the absolute treasure trove of interesting, innovative, unique, and outright weird content. These won't be full reviews, just some first thoughts on these games for the most part. In most of these cases, these games will be name your own price, or free, be that permanently or as a promotion. That said, if you have interest in these titles, I do encourage you to support the developers and help them grow. One of the biggest advantages of a service like itch.io is that your money is going directly to the future in a lot of cases. A lot of these developers are younger, just starting out, or are using itch.io as a career launchpad. And it's important to help foster that sort of growth. And hopefully, in my own way, I can help that some as well. I also encourage you to check out itch.io if you haven't before. Take a look at what the site has to offer. If you found a game that stands out to you, let us know in the comments. Links for all the games looked at in this video as well will be in the description, as well as a link to our Twitter. Not hinting that you follow us there or subscribe to our YouTube or anything. That'd be silly, wouldn't it? Unless. Okay, first off, we're going to be taking a look at Macbat 64. Funny enough, Macbat 64 is a game I already played through, having bought it on Steam, and not to humble brag or anything, but I've beaten it 100%. Macbat 64 is a love letter to the 3D platformers of old developed by Ciactra, taking a ton of visual and musical representation from the likes of Banjo-Kazooie in particular. In fact, it tries so hard to emulate Grant Kirkhope's musical stylings that they somehow even managed to summon the man himself in monkey form into the game. It's also a direct sequel to another game made by the same developer called Kiwi 64. This game leans heavily into retro charm, and in that regard, it's nearly perfect. It looks and feels just like it would be right at home on an N64, and the levels take their own notes from Banjo too, taking you to a bunch of different worlds, ranging from a bar to a level that looks like Outrun threw up on the 80s, and all these levels have tons of charm. I love the little touches where your character gets these cute little outfits to match each level too. It's honestly adorable, and I love little touches like this. Also, there's kart racing! Yeah! The controls are pretty solid. It feels the part of an N64 platformer, doing both 3D Banjo-inspired levels and even a couple Kirby 64-inspired levels pretty well in terms of movement. The cameras even play the part, and have some minor problems as such, but it didn't really take away from the gameplay itself. Where this game differs, however, compared to its inspirations is in its size. Each level is pretty small, focusing on you completing a series of puzzles within them to receive a key and move to the next world, rather than focusing on exploration. And admittedly, it does hurt the game a little bit. Really, I would have loved to see larger areas to explore, but at its normal price of just $2, I do understand why they can't provide us with that. This game is also extremely short. It took me around 84 minutes, or just over an hour to 100% the game on my first playthrough. And that's incredibly short for a game. And the length really hinders it from reaching the same level of memorability that other games it was inspired by have. That said, I think the biggest issue I have with this game is the overall feel that with all the charm it does have, it falls flat at times. And I believe a bit more polish could really make the game stand out as one of the best indie titles on the market today. At times, musical choices confused me, and the game felt at times like it just needed a little bit longer in the oven to really get it down perfect. The game felt pretty rushed at points, and really felt like a demo of what the small team could do rather than a final product at times, especially as you reach towards the end of the game. In their defense, however, it seems like the game was mainly developed by just one person, with the entire team that worked on it being extremely small. And for such a small team, this is truly impressive. I just wish at times there was more to really sink my teeth into, and honestly, the game never really has that chance to get into that second gear, which sorely hurts it. That said, after completing the game you get some bonus missions, and I think in a lot of ways, these actually shine brightest out of the entire game. including a new level added just recently. The first level is honestly some of the most fun I had in this game, and then level 2 came along and I almost max shat in my pants. Jesus Christ, this level is horrifying. I take back everything I said. And on top of it, there's a new Christmas-themed level that just came out this last year. And actually, it seems to address a lot of my concerns with the base game, honestly. It's a lot of fun, a larger area to explore with speed boosts to compensate for the low speed that your character has. I just wish there was more to do in the enlarged space because this level was a load of fun to run around in. Overall, I think even with its shortcomings, it's a great little game for people who love 3D platformers, and I really look forward to seeing what this team has in store for the future. In a world where so many indie titles go for a 2D platformer route, including the rest of the games on this list, it's always amazing to see someone take on a 3D platformer and really make it work, especially in the world of indie games. The next game we're looking at today is Super Rad Raygun. It's a pretty interesting title. Originally published in 2016 by RT Games, not that one, and Screw Attack Games, yes that one, it was developed by the now defunct Tough Games. Super Rad Raygun is an interesting throwback to the original Game Boy era. Right down to the main character, Rad Raygun himself, a lab assistant turned American hero who bears shocking resemblance to a certain best-selling handheld of all time. As Rad Raygun, you have to fight the evils of communism and save true American values. This game plays similar in a lot of ways to Mega Man. You jump, you shoot. But that's sort of the bare basics. As you go along, you get batteries, which are the main gimmick of this game. More batteries means you can unlock more abilities, with the added bonus that you can swap between these at any time to fit your needs at the moment. So say if you need more firepower, but you don't need as much movability, that's an option available to you. Or you can put more power into your movement, giving you the ability to slide, backstep, or air dash as you progress through the game. While this concept's really great in theory, I will say this idea does have its problems. You have a battery meter which depletes with a lot of your actions, and if you run out, you'll basically be a sitting duck. It's easy to find yourself running out of battery too, because things that you essentially need to progress, like your basic attack or your double jump, both use up valuable energy and take away a bit of the fun that the movement admittedly has. Gameplay's response has been really nice in general. My only complaint is really that Rad Raygun feels a little too floaty for his own good at times, making tight platforming more difficult. I noticed this most in a volcano stage where there is minimal light, and small platforms to jump to with the price to pay for falling essentially being death unless you recover fast enough. It's also worth noting that key mapping was hell for some reason with this game, though it may be down to my gamepad. And this game really wants you to use one. It may be better to map your keys using a third-party app to curb this a bit because the in-game options were just uncooperative at times. And you couldn't even change mapping until you're already in-game anyway. Also, something silly I noticed, the button mapping screen advances what's going on outside the pause screen too. That's really weird. Where this game really excels though is in its presentation. The sprite work is incredible and the music is just awesome. Loaded with high-quality chiptunes that are worth listening to even on their own, even if you aren't interested in the game itself. On top of it, the tongue-in-cheek humor poking fun at 80s tropes is hilarious. The banter between Rad, the Professor, and the President of the United States is top-notch stuff, and even had me laughing a fair bit. This is definitely a game I plan to go back to in the future and continue after finishing this video, because I really want to see it through and really get the full experience of this game. And with the charm alone, it's honestly a no-brainer to recommend it, especially to fans of 2D platformers. Speaking of 2D platformers, for our final stop on this very quick little adventure, I do want to take a chance to talk about a game I've actually been following for a while called Pizza Tower. Developed by the aptly named Pizza Tower guy, the game is a love letter to cartoons from the 90s as well as games like Wario Land and the Earthworm Jim series. I am cheating a little bit here, because this game is technically a demo, but the gameplay here actually makes up for it in spades, and I found myself having a hard time justifying not including this as one of the games I covered today. I mean, when else am I going to get a chance to talk about this? Unless you want me to talk more about this, I can do that. Let me know in the comments. The game itself plays really well. Everything is super responsive and easy to get used to, and movement is super fulfilling. Once I got adjusted to the controls, it was super easy to get around levels, and our hero Peppino makes every movement just that little bit more fun. Everything it does is extremely expressive and over the top and really adds to the gameplay a lot. Though I would have killed for some controller support, this game just begs for it. And while keyboard really did get the job done and it worked surprisingly well, I'm sure some people aren't going to find that too enjoyable. You can see its inspirations in a lot of design choices, but that's not exactly a bad thing. Collect a certain amount of toppings and clear the stage, then book it back through as fast as possible, with some paths you took along the way changed in small ways to keep you on your toes. Very similar to Wario Land, and speeding your way through the end of levels is loads of fun, if a little nerve-wracking. On top of that presentation, oh man, where do I start? Everything's so charming in this game. The visuals make me feel like I'm playing a 90s cartoon and I just adore it. And the music's a huge shining point on its own too. The song that plays when you're rushing towards the level exits is an absolute banger. And what's that? Do my ears deceive me? Is that? Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Nice. Being a demo, this is a pretty short track. But it is a great game with plenty of replayability to get everything available and complete all the challenges in the demo alone. And it does an excellent job to really whet the palate for what this game will be after it finishes its development. Overall, I can't recommend this game enough, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it in the future. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this one. And now for some final thoughts before I wrap things up. In times like these, it's more important than ever to try and encourage the creativity that a site like itch.io allows. While I promised myself I would not directly mention the crisis going on around us, due to the dating this video will suffer in time, and wanting this channel to really remain a safe haven to kind of escape from the problems surrounding us, it is a bit of an elephant in the room. Both Macbat 64 and Super Rad Raygun have been made available for free due to the current events, and Pizza Tower's free demo is incredibly generous with its content. The efforts of these developers to encourage people to stay home, to enjoy themselves some, to take part in something they created for a little while, in hopes that their game, their vision, their stories, and their efforts may speak to you, excite you, move you, and help you disconnect for a little while cannot be understated. Their efforts and generosity cannot be understated, and neither can the site that gives room for this creativity in the first place, which deserves its own thanks as well. Now more than ever, what we need is love and creativity that can inspire us and help us make today a little bit easier, so that tomorrow we can meet up with those we care about and hopefully share some memories made in the countless worlds that came from your living room, your bedroom, your desk, your break room, your bedroom, your hospital bed. Creative memories that can inspire us to carry on until tomorrow, no matter how many tomorrows it takes. Thank you.